Hello and welcome to another edition of Andy's Shed Live. This is Series 11, Episode 10 for Sunday the 20th of November 2022. Hello there everybody and welcome to the show. I'm a bit low down in the frame. Let me move my camera a bit. How are you all today? I hope everybody's had a good week out there. Yes, we are now with you for the next hour and a bit or so. So sit down, settle down, put your feet up, do whatever, and yeah. Sunday soon comes around these days, doesn't it? Have you noticed? I'm sure there's more Sundays in a week than there used to be. And while you might think that's good, it's not a day of rest for me, so it's not necessarily all that fantastic. But yeah, it's there. It's a Sunday anyway, and we are here, and various of you are here as well. Penfold was here, but he's off to Aberdeen tonight. So hello, Penfold, if you're watching after the event. He's going to see a heavy metal band from the 1980s, Saxon. I remember Saxon. Yeah, are they still going? Crikey. Dominic's here, Christopher's here, Wesley's here, Fat Hobbit's here. Gambo's here, Maget's here. Oh, looks like a full house. Right, just give me a second while I read all this. Dominic says the spindle bearing failed on my Sony PS1350 turntable, and I decided to replace it with a higher end automatic PS4300 from the same range. It has a very early touch sensitive start stop button. Crikey. Wow. And Gambo has received his parcel at last, but cable screws are missing and two phone sockets were missing, which he didn't know, he says. Crikey. What was in the parcel, Gambo? What was it? Have I missed something there? Cable screws missing and two phone sockets missing. Everybody else is sort of saying hello, so hello to everybody. Right, we'll crack on, shall we? Right, let me get the right screen up. Yeah, it's been a bit of a strange week this week. Yeah, it's been a bit of an oddball one. Not much telephone related has arrived this week. I have, however, this week managed to obtain something that I've been looking for ages, and this is to do with the restoration of vintage video machines and all that sort of stuff. I managed to get hold of a vintage Variac this week. Now, who knows what a Variac is? Who's seen a Variac before? This is a Variac. I'll shove it on there in amongst all the clutter on the desk so you can see it. There it is. Basically, what it does, for those who don't know, the clue's kind of in the name. It varies AC power. So you plug it into the mains with this cable here. That goes in here, and then coming out the other side should be another cable with a socket on it, and by turning this you control the AC voltage that you get out of the Variac, up to around about 260-270 volts on this particular model, because yes, you can get more out than you put in. So that's what it's for, and it's got a lot of uses, but my use for it is when you've got old electronic equipment that hasn't been turned on for a long time, like old radios or old video machines or stuff like that. The capacitors tend to I'm wanting to say explode, but they don't necessarily explode, although sometimes they do. But the capacitors pass current when they shouldn't. And one way of reforming the capacitors, as they call it, to make them work again, is instead of just turning your device on, you actually power it up very, very slowly. So instead of suddenly switching a switch and putting 230 volts into something, you can switch a switch and put no volts in, and then you can put like 40 volts in for a while, and if that's all looking okay, you can put 60 in, and if that looks okay for a while, 80, and so on, and you bring it up gradually, and that can get some things working that wouldn't otherwise work. I mean, you should probably replace a lot of capacitors in vintage stuff, but just to sort of get it going, that is a way to do it on a Variac. And if you've got something that wants a strange AC voltage that's not what you've got out your mains, then again, this is the thing to do it with. So this has arrived this week. I've not tested it yet. It is a vintage one. It's a Claude Lyons one. Anybody who knows anything about vintage equipment, vintage electrical equipment and test gear and that, will know that Claude Lyons are very famous for making Variacs from their factory in Liverpool. So that arrived this week. I thought you'd just like to see that, all you technical folk out there. So yeah, that is one thing that has arrived this week. Another thing that has arrived this week, well, two things actually, are two things that are somewhat less technical than the Variac, and that is these. Yes, you're right, it's a pen, but it's not any old pen. It's a fountain pen. This is the latest thing that I'm doing. As if I didn't have enough things to do already. This is the latest one. Basically, the guy we did the mirror phone for. Remember that wall phone that we had on a few weeks ago? That GEC wall phone, that Bakelite thing. Well, the guy that I restored that for is a collector and restorer of fountain pens. So when I took him his phone back, I basically said to him, I said, don't pay me for it, but I'll have a couple of vintage fountain pens instead. And he said, yeah, that sounds like a good deal to me. It says, I'll teach you how to restore them as well if you want. So the other day I popped over and we actually did two fountain pens while I was there. This one is a Parker pen, very famous if you've heard of Parker pens. And there you go, you see, with a gold nib on it. And I said to him, I said, they must be gold plated then, those nibs. He said, no, they're gold. Not gold plated, they are gold through and through, and it is a Parker pen. It's an interesting one, this, because it's what they call a button filling pen. You can unscrew this end of it, and under there, you see, there's a little button. I've never seen one of these before till the other day. And what you do when you want to fill this pen with ink, it's got an ink sac inside here, and when you want to fill it with ink, you press this button down, which deflates the ink sac. It kind of squeezes the ink sac. You then dip your pen in a bottle of ink, let the button go, and it sucks up the ink into the ink sac, and then you've got a pen that is actually full of ink and you can write with. So that is the button filling Parker pen. And when I got it, we actually restored these while I was there. He taught me how to restore them, and these are the pens that we did. But this one was a bit dull on the outside. So when I got back here, I got the old brasso out and I brassoed it on the outside, and look how shiny it is now, just like we did on that 706 telephone last week. So that's a rather nice Parker pen, probably dates from the sort of 1950s, so I'm told. And then we've got this one as well. This one's not a Parker, but this is really nice. This one, if I get this under the other camera so you can see it. Can I hold it closer? You can get a closer look at it. Can you see how that all shines? It doesn't really do it justice on this camera, but it kind of shines. It's got an iridescence to it in all the green colours there. And this is very similar to a pen that Churchill used. This is a little bit later than Churchill's pen. This one dates from the 1950s, and I think Churchill's dated from the 40s. The difference is this one's got a curved end to it and Churchill's has got a flat end on it. But this one is a lever filler. It's got a lever on the side here that you flick out, and again, when you flick the lever out, it squeezes a rubber bladder inside the pen. So you then dip it in the ink, let the lever go back, it sucks up the ink, and then you've got the ink in the pen. But again, a very, very nice thing. So he got a free phone repair, and I got a couple of very nice free pens out of the deal. So it was a good deal all round, basically, and I learnt something too. So there's the two pens. But this has led me to question something though. When you put a pen in your pocket, which way up should it be? Right? This is one where I'm going to prove everybody wrong and everybody right at the same time. Right. Bear in mind, yeah, that is nib up. Yeah, that is on the cap. The thing that clips onto your pocket is on the cap of the pen. Yeah, so these pens have got to go nib up in your pocket. Yeah. But if you have a nice ballpoint pen, like a Parker ballpoint pen or something like that, they go, if you think about it, nib down in your pocket. Yeah? So, a ballpoint pen that's got a refill in it, think about a pen refill. The ink can't drop past the ball, but it could come out of the top of the open end of the refill, couldn't it? So to have that pen ball down, you'd think would be right, yeah? You think that's right. Okay? This bladder thing has got a closed end on it at this end. So the only way ink can come out of this is if you tip it that way up and it dribbles out the nib. Yeah? So these should probably be stored that way up. And that's why the clip is on what is effectively the cap. Yeah? So we're saying, at the minute, fountain pens that way up in your pocket, ballpoint pens that way up in your pocket. Yeah? Would you agree with that? Yeah? You'd agree with that, yeah? Until you think about every disposable Bic pen that you've ever seen that has the clip on the cap, so the ball is pointing up. So are they all wrong? And is that why when you were at school and you had those, they always leaked? Is that the reason for it? let me know. Tell me what you think. Get on the chat and tell me what your opinion is. I'm trying to put these pens somewhere where I am trying to stand them up. Yeah, let me know what you think about that one. Get on the comments if you're watching after the event, or get on the chat if you are watching it live. Right, well, as of cracky, the chat's absolutely shot up. Miguel says, is it a Parker? Yes, the brown one's a Parker. The green one, the name escapes me at the minute of the green one, but that's not a Parker. It has got something written on it that is too small to read. But that's not a Parker, the green one. The Parker ones, you can tell a Parker pen by the little clip that goes on your pocket is a kind of arrow. Can you see that? It's an arrow. Whereas on that one it's not. Yeah. And you can still get Parker pens, of course. How much do you think a fountain pen's worth, an old fountain pen? I remember my gran had a couple in a drawer that I used to play with as a kid. Kind of wish I hadn't now. I wonder what happened to them. I wonder where they are. When we cleared her house out years ago, I wonder if those pens came up here somewhere and have ended up in a drawer here that I don't know about. But yeah, I mean, if you'd asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, I'd have said an old fountain pen. I would have said it might be worth a fiver or a tenner. You'd be wrong. Basically about 60 quid a pen. In working order, about 60 quid a pen. So it's worth doing them up. If you can find one at a car boot sale or something for a tenner, it's worth restoring. So yeah. So thanks to Robert in Sheffield for showing me how to do that this week, and sending me away with two absolutely exquisitely beautiful things. I'm really, particularly with that one, I am really impressed with that. It's just an amazing thing. So yeah, brilliant. 2 pens there, fully restored. In fact, in the morning we actually restored 3 pens that morning, because he basically showed me how to do one, then I did 2 more under his supervision, sort of thing. So yeah, it was brilliant. I might do a YouTube video about it when I restore another one. We'll do it on here or something, because it's actually not a difficult process to do, but you do need to make some little tools and things to do it with. So yeah, that's the story of the pens. Dominic says those pens are no good. You can't wind cassettes with them. You can't wind cassette tape with them. Good point, Dominic. Yeah, but yeah, a big ballpoint does wind a cassette tape quite nicely, doesn't it? But as does a pencil. So yeah. Wesley says, I didn't realise pens were so sought after. No, neither did I, Wesley. Neither did I. Miguel says he's got a drawer full of vintage pens picked up from flea markets and boot sales. Get them checked out, Miguel, is all I'll say to you, because they could be quite valuable. I've been to a little antique shop today. I saw a Parker pen in there. It wasn't even a fountain pen, it was a ballpoint pen, and it had got a price ticket of 60 quid on it. and that was just a ballpoint pen. So yeah, get them checked out. But look at the prices of them on eBay; they are phenomenally expensive. So yeah, that's right. I'm going through. Christopher says, did you see my email from last week of the 802 circuit board, Andy? Yes, I've got it somewhere, Chris. That, yeah. Right. Just trying to read all the chats. I'm reading it off the computer screen today, as you can probably see. Dominic says, I've always used the cheap big pens, but now you mention it, the Parker ones do go the other way round. Yeah, they do, don't they? So which is right? Which is the right way up for the refill in your pen? You know, which is the right way up to have it in your pocket to not get an inky pocket? I've got absolutely no idea which is right and which is wrong, but somebody somewhere, I'm sure, will know the answer to this. Christopher says, I might be getting another Ericsson phone, an N1900 or N1970B. Crikey, another one. Yeah, I'll have more than Ericssons soon. Right, I think I've caught up. Think I've caught up. Right, so that's Wesley says he's got an Ivory 332 phone this week. That's very good, an Ivory one, particularly if it's one in decent condition. The Ivory ones are a bit funny. The Ivory ones are odd, because they're made out of something strange, and the name of it escapes me, but it's not Bakelite, the Ivory ones, nor were the green ones, nor were the red ones. The green and the red ones were actually Diacon, like the early 700 series phones, the green and the red 300s and that, but the Ivory ones were made out of something else, and it's a particularly unstable plastic. It kind of goes like brown toffee over time. It sort of starts to degrade, and once it starts going, it goes, and it's a bit like ripe bananas, in that if you've got a degraded Ivory phone and you put it near another Ivory phone that's not degraded, it'll set the other one off. So watch out for Ivory Bakelite era phones with sort of brown marks in the plastic, because once it goes, it's weird. Dominic says it's urea formaldehyde. That sounds right, Dominic. It might that could be it, yeah. But it's horrible stuff. It's very, very unstable. Not great thing to make a phone case out of at all. But then I don't suppose they expected them to last about 60 or 70 years, did they? Right, okay. We will get to it. We have got a little phone job on this week, in that we've got one of these to have a look at this week. A 776, if I just unwind the very, very grotty and dirty line cord off it. Now, folks have been talking to me about these this week, so I thought I would show you this one. No, I'm just going to see if I can pull the number out of it. It's got what might still be somebody's phone number in it, so before it appears on YouTube, I'll just pull the number out of it. Right, so there we go, a 776. You may notice it's on its own, this particular 776. It's not got a bell set with it. no bell set included. So what we're going to do today is I am going to show you how to wire one of these. If you find one of these cheap because it's not got the bell set with it, you can still use it. It is still possible to wire it. So we're going to have a look at this and see if it is wired up correctly for how it should be to use without a bell set. So what we will do is take the case off, and to get the case off these, it's another one of those jobs where you need to get your sucker oil bit of sellotape. I used to do this with sellotape, and every time I did it with sellotape, somebody, and it was a different person every time, would like leave a comment saying GPO used to use little suckery things to do it. Well, they did, but I didn't have a little suckery thing. But then I found this in the box of Christmas decorations, and that's exactly what this is. This is a thing for sticking your fairy lights to the window. And then of course that then reveals a screw in the middle, which you should be able to undo, and that should get the finger wheel off for you. I think this is going to be a self-tapper type screw, this one, in this. Yes, it is actually a self-tapper, that, into the plastic. It's got a little cut out in the screw to make like the blade that taps it. But there you go. So we've now got that off. And I'm actually going to, while I'm doing here, I'm going to take out the finger plate as well, because it's absolutely filthy, as you can see. So we'll sort that out in a minute. But there is your dial. Very similar to a dial 21, but has a kind of weaker clutch mechanism in it, so it's easier to dial. So you can actually rotate the dial easier without sliding the phone across the table, which is the problem that trim phones had. So that is that. Right, to get the case off one of these, there's only one screw, and it's that big one there at the back. Yeah, so you just undo that big screw. It should be retained, which that one is. And then you turn it over again, and then you have the fun of trying to remove the case. And on these, it's really not. Now, you know, I have my normal Sunday rant about 700 series cases. These are no exception, because you just cannot get the case easily past that finger stop. You just cannot do it. And I think my answer to it may be to remove the finger stop. Take that out. Now you might have a fighting chance of getting the case off. And it's still not easy, but it will come off. So there goes the case. And there is your wiring. Okay. bend that up so we can see what's happening. Right, so there is your wiring. Now these are not numbered in the same way that a normal like 706 and 746 is numbered. You've got terminal 1 there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But then after 9 they start doing weird things. Your next one is let me get this right. The next one is it T2? Then you get R2, then R1, then T1, I believe it is. So it's not numbered the normal way. So you've got terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 3, terminal 4, which we normally call T whatever, but we don't on these. You just call them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then T2, then R2, then R1, then T1. Okay, and they are R and T for receiver and transmitter, I guess, because they go to the handset. And I can show you on a little diagram. Here's one I prepared earlier that shows you what they do. But T2, notice, goes into the dial, not into the handset. Oh, it does go into the handset. It's a white wire going into the handset. T2. Sorry, I just didn't see that there. So yeah, so 4 cables going into the handset. A blue. So we'll go through, and this is one that's been converted for modern day plug and socket. This. So that is how this should be wired. So, going from, we'll start with those weird terminals. Going from T2 across to T1, it should be white, red, green and blue terminals on it, yeah? So, let's have a look what we've actually got on here. And we have got there a little white wire there, can you see that? White there, red there, green there, and blue at that side there. So that is correct. And then the line cord, blue should go to T1, which is jumpered to T2. And there it is. Look, there is your blue wire. Can you see that? This one that I've got in my hand now, going to T1. That wire there, that one that is blue goes to T1, and T1 has got a jumper T2, oh not T1, 1 on this has got a jumper to 2, yeah. Red should go to 4, and there is red going to 4, as you can see. Yeah, that's fine. White should go to 5 on the bottom row there, and green should go to 6 next to it. Well, here's white going to 5, and green should go next to it. Isn't actually next to it, it's on the next one along on this phone. But if you look at this diagram here, the next one along doesn't seem to be connected to anything particularly significant, I don't think, but I'm going to move it anyway just to be on the safe side. I'm going to move it to where it should be, because you don't know if it's going through a capacitor or somewhere. Don't know who's screwed these in. I think it was Jeff Capes. So I'm going to move it just for the sake of correctness, although I'm not entirely sure it's necessary. I'd have to look at the back of the circuit board to see if there's anything actually going on the circuit board to that, to know for sure if it makes a difference. Well, we can put that in there. We'll do that up again. What have I just knocked on the floor? I think it was just the end of the cord. There. And I've done it all backwards and upside down to me as well, so you could see it. So I've now put that green onto number 6 instead of number 7. So it is now as it is on there. Okay. So this is now wired like that. So the only jumper that we've got is between 1 and 2. So this phone is now wired up like that on that thing there. So this should work. Shall we give it a go? Shall we give it a try? What do you think? Yeah? Right. We'll try it. I'll find yon plug and we will try plugging it in. While I do that, we'll have a look what people have been saying in the chat. Wesley says there were different materials for 300 series phones. He thinks early ones were urea formaldehyde, later ones were Diacon. I thought the coloured ones were Diacon. I could be wrong, Wesley. I'm not certain, but I've always understood the green and the red ones to be Diacon, and the ivory ones to be this urea formaldehyde stuff. Wesley says there's no brown spots on his ivory phone anyway, so that's looking good. Wesley says, has anyone got a line that doesn't support LD dialing, i.e. pulse dialing? You shouldn't have at this stage. You shouldn't have. Basically, pretty much all lines should, at the moment, still be backwards compatible. So your line should, particularly if it's from BT, still support pulse. The only time, as far as I'm aware, that doesn't happen is if you've not got a copper phone line anymore, i.e. if you're on something like Virgin Fibre, and you've got actual fibre to the premises that Virgin or some other operators put in, and those might not support pulse dialing. But it is going to change apparently in 2024, which is extremely bad news, but won't affect us that are using things like ATAs, so don't worry too much about it. We'll tell you more about it nearer the time. Daniel James G is here. Hello there, Daniel. He says the best suckers are Screwfix GU10 bulb removers. Oh, Screwfix GU10 bulb removers. I might have to have a look what they are in just a second. Wesley says he thinks it'll be fibre to the premises before too long. so it'll be digital voice as well. Yes, but I think they should still have to make it backwards compatible. What I'm hoping is that when they make it fibre to the premises, whatever box you have to plug your phone into will support an ordinary telephone and will support pulse dialing. There is no reason that whatever digital box they have should not support pulse dialing. If you can make these little ATA boxes like these ones that I've got here, and I've got one somewhere not connected up, if I can find it. Where is it? It's always in the last drawer you come to, isn't it? Yeah, a little box like this one from Grandstream. This particular one is a model T502 from Grandstream. This connects to your internet, a port there. Then you can plug two phones into it. I've got adapters in this one because it's got the American type sockets on the unit, and obviously I need to be able to plug British phones into it. But this supports pulse dialing, so there is no reason why the routers or whatever they give you to plug your phone into when it goes fibre to the premises should not support pulse dialing. And certainly it's always been in the past that systems have to be backwards compatible. I think they should still make it so that it has to be backwards compatible. There's no reason not to. There's no reason why they shouldn't. So yeah, right, anyway, I've now got this phone plugged in, so shall we see if it does anything? Right, first I'll get it on hook. Oh, I've got a dial tone. I've got a dial tone on it, so that's good so far. Does it ring? So put it down and I will pick another phone up, try and... Now obviously it's not going to ring because there's no ringer in it, but what I should be able to do is listen on the other phone and get that one off hook like that, and then I should be able to... Oh, right, have I just misdialed that? Let me try that again. Right, it's ringing, so if I now take it off hook, there we go. Oh yeah, that's working. Yeah. Yeah, that's working well actually. That, very impressed with that. Blimey, that's got some side tone on it. Blimey. You can hear yourself in the handset really loud with that. It's got a superb amount of side tone. It's like being on the radio when you've got your headset on and the mic's open. It's got a heck of a lot of side tone. Side tone being, for those of you that don't know, being when you talk into here, you can hear yourself back in here. It's designed to do that. If you don't have that side tone, actually making a call is a very weird experience. It's surprisingly off-putting if you've not got that, but most people don't notice it's there, but it is. So that seems to work. So let's have a little look at the dial. So we will stick just the finger wheel back on for now. Just put it on loosely and just see how it one 1001. Might be a little bit slow, but it's not significantly slow. So we will take that off again. And I think we'll take this and this and give them a little bit of wash, a little bit of a wash in ordinary washing up liquid, water washing up liquid, and make them sparkle again, basically. So I'll go and give those a quick rinse, and then I will be back with you. Bear with me for just a moment or two, and I will return very shortly. One bit. That's it, I've done it, I'm back. Sort of. Hang on. Got to try and get in past all these wires and stuff. Right, here we are. They look a bit cleaner, don't they? Much better. Trouble is they're a bit wet now, so a little bit of a dry off, a bit of kitchen roll. When you're cleaning these, it's amazing how much dirt gets inside the holes. So you have to get something you can shove in the holes and twist and make sure all the holes are clean. And it's amazing how sparkly these become just with a dunk in some washing up liquid. Water. It's like new now, that look. Look at that. Then these, don't worry too much about rubbing these because the numbers and that are on the back and it's painted on the back, so it's this side you're going to rub off if anything, not that side. If you've got numbers printed on the face, then it's not a genuine one. So I can now put that back on. Oh, I've got to put the finger stop back on first, haven't I? So the finger stop that only had one screw in it because the other thing here is a peg, so it has one screw hole and one peg that this other hole locates on. So you put that on there and it locates on a peg there. It's now spinning on there, and then you've got this very long screw that goes in the other end. trouble is here, the light shines in such a way that when you've got a shiny screw, I can't actually see where the slot is in the screw. There we go, that's seated. Right, that's on. Okay, so now my finger plate can go back on. The little springy thing that can only go one way, it can't go that way because that end bit is too long there. It would foul on this raised bit on the dial here, so it has to go that way around. And then you can put your finger wheel back on, engaging it on the little pips on the centre boss there, of which there are 2 on these, and then you're ready to put the screw back in the middle. Now if this was a Jubilee rather than a 776, and there are slight differences to them, particularly in the bell sets when you get them with the bell sets, a Jubilee has a special thing in the middle here that says Queen's Silver Jubilee on it, and there's 2 versions of that, one with like a British crest on it, an English crest rather, and one with a Scottish one. It is a bit slow, but I'm not going to speed that up at this stage, 1001, because it's not been used for a long time. With a bit of use it might start going faster again, and the thing is, you set them to the right speed when they've not been used for a long time, and then they have a bit of use and they end up going too fast, so you have to come back about a week later and slow them down again. So that's that. Like I say, the Jubilees didn't have a normal dial centre. They had a Queen Silver Jubilee thing, and then a normal opal on top of it. But this is not a Jubilee. This is a 776 that came after the Jubilees. So I can put in a normal dial label. I'm going to put the original one back in underneath it, because it did come with an original one. I'll just put my finger over the number in case it's still somebody's actual phone number. So what I'm going to do is put the original back, but there's the original, you see, and there's my reproduction of it, which is not terribly far off, is it? So I'll not make that bit wet, that one now, not to worry. But yeah, I'll put the original back underneath my new clean repro one. Do that, and I've just realised I've not put the case on. Will we be able to get the case on with the finger wheel on, is the question. Bet you were all shouting at me. Put the case back on first, weren't you? No, you weren't actually. You didn't spot it either. Oh, Wesley says BT Digital Voice doesn't support loop disconnect. Are you sure, Wesley? Because Grandstream say their ATAs don't support loop disconnect, but they do. They just don't know that they do. So it may be. This is the thing. You often find loop disconnect is supported, but the people on the customer services department and that, and even the people that design the packaging for the things, don't know it's supported, so they don't list it as a feature, even though it is. That certainly happens with Grandstream ATAs and other manufacturers as well. Right, let's see if we can get the case back on. Yeah, a bit of brute force and ignorance, it went on, but I tell you something, it wouldn't have come off. So there we go. It's it's back together. Before I put the screw in the base, let's try it again. I will pick up the other phone and we'll call it. And we will then pick up, blowing one, listening the other. Yep, that seems to work. We will now do it the other way, where I will try and ring on this. So I've got a dial tone, so let's ring 21 and the phone on my desk should ring. And there it goes, 21. Hello. Yeah, it's really good actually, that. Really good. So that is how you wire up one of these 776s without a bell set on it. Now, obviously, there's a problem in that you got no bells, so you don't know when you get an incoming call. So, there's various things you can do. There is a way of fitting a little bell into these, but I'm not going to go into that now because it's a bit complex on where to get the bells from and stuff like that. You can have a separate external ringer, but if you've got another phone in your house, obviously the other phone can ring and this one just not ring. These are good for bedrooms because they don't ring. So if you want a phone in your bedroom that's not going to disturb you at night, these are the thing to have. So I think we can safely put that screw back in the base now. Now remember, the screw what is still in there because it was retained, but just needs screwing in. So there we go. Goes in nice and easily, just like that. There we go. And that is another one done. How cool is that? I quite like these. They were a lot of trouble to go to though, just to make a phone sit on a windowsill, weren't they? So, yeah. What I've never understood about it, when they have the separate bell set thing, I've never understood why they didn't just make the phone a bit taller like that and put the bells underneath. Because that's what most people ended up doing. Most people ended up putting the bell box on the windowsill, then sitting the phone on top of the bell box. So why it was not designed like that, I do not know. But that's it. The 776. Right, cool. What are folks saying? Dominic says, I'm tempted to get one of those converter boxes or 782 to future-proof my collection. I think you'll be alright, Dominic. If you go through a PBX, you'll be alright, because if you get the right PBX, it will accept pulsars but generate tones out to the world. So you just need a PBX, really. Wesley says, I was hoping for some feedback, Dominic, on the inline adapters. I don't want a PBX. Yeah, the inline adapters, I just don't use them, Wesley, because like I say, it all goes through a PBX. And to be honest, you can buy a PBX cheaper than you can buy the inline adapters, so why would you? Dominic says, the inline adapters look like the neatest solution. Possibly. But I don't know. I would wait and see, because I think there will be something. Why would you have phone service anyway? You know, when they switch over to digital voice, if they switch over to digital voice, Why would you have phone service? I mean, at the radio studio, where we do How to Start a Radio Station from, and new episodes of that are coming soon, I promise. At the radio studio, we're just about to have broadband installed, plus now putting the broadband in. And that is fibre to the cabinet. So it's fibre to the cabinet in the street, and then it's copper pair up to the unit, to the studio. And they said, right, your broadband's 25 quid a month, do you want a phone line for an extra tenner or whatever? And I said, no, don't be silly. Why would you have an extra phone line? Because what you can do, of course, is have an ATA like the one I've just shown you and plug that into your router, and then get a VoIP account from somewhere, or if you just want to contact other old phone people like me on CNET, just get a CNET account, set your ATA up with your CNET or the account from another VoIP provider, and then you get all your calls and everything, and you're not paying your broadband provider an extra tenner or whatever it is a month for a telephone service. Because the telephone service won't be any good anyway that they provide, because if you do have a power cut and your router goes off, your phones will go off as well. So, which is exactly what the CNET phones do here. So if you have a power cut, whereas at the minute, while you're on copper pairs, it's a totally separate system, and if there's a power cut to the house, or whatever, or to your street, generally the telephones keep working. When they go over to what are basically VoIP systems and fibre and that won't happen, because everything will be going through a box which will be like what your broadband router is now. And this is a problem that people who have already got similar things on like Virgin Media and that have found. And it's certainly been found to be a problem in America, in places where they're prone to natural disasters, like in Tornado Alley, where they do get lots of power cuts because a tornado sweeps through the area and it takes the power lines down, a lot of which run overground in America. It takes the power lines down, but it doesn't always take out the phone service. Okay, sometimes it takes the phone wires down as well, but just the power going down does not necessarily take out the phone service in America until these new systems come along, which they've already got there or are getting there, and all of a sudden people are finding that in an emergency situation they go to call the police or call an ambulance or call the fire brigade, and guess what? The phones don't work. So yeah, that is not a step forward as far as I'm concerned. With technology, not a step forward at all. Right, what's everybody else saying? Michael says, Andy, I'd like to remotely be a DJ presenter for you on your radio station. Maybe just an hour to begin with. And by the way, hello from Bristol. I'm sure we can sort that out for you, Michael. We can have a go at that. And hello from near Chesterfield. But yeah, I will be in touch with you, Michael, on that one. It's going to be starting after Christmas now, I think. New Year, because the broadband doesn't get installed, so we can't actually connect it up to the outside world until I think it's 2nd of December. So then there's going to be a lot of testing and stuff going on then. Dominic says, I don't think I've ever asked, what is your favourite colour of compact telephone? And more broadly, what is your favourite colour of the GPO telephones? Oh, that's tricky. That's a tricky one, Dominic. I'm going to let other people answer that question before I answer it, because I need to think about it for a minute. So Dominic's asking, what's your favourite colour of compact phone, i.e. the ones like we've got on the desk here, the 776, and we'll throw in the Jubilees as well for this. So what's your favourite colour of these? Because these came in this strange brown colour, this strange light brown, which is, and as far as I know, this is the only GPO phone that ever came in this colour. It was a colour unique to these. These came in bright blue as well, and a sort of dirty white colour, which they actually say is grey. But it's a very, very pale grey. And it's kind of goes a bit yellowy as well, so it is sort of dirty white these days. And they're the colours they came in. Of course, the Jubilee, although Jubilee phone looks black, it's not actually black. It is a very, very, very dark blue, sort of midnight blue colour. You will see some of these on eBay in all sorts of fancy colours, like bright green and things like that. That's because they've been recoated, they've been painted. And it looks like they've done quite a good paint job on them, but they're not a proper colour. So yeah. Dominic is asking what is your favourite colour of these, and also what is your favourite colour of GPO phones in general. Right, where did I get to on this chat thing? Where's this says, no, the new GPO things only support DTMF, unfortunately. I'm not sure you'll be able to use a third-party ATA with BT. Why shouldn't you be? It will plug in to your Ethernet. It will plug in as an Ethernet port to whatever they give you as a router. So your router, surely it's got to have Ethernet. Surely they're not going to make everybody use wireless, because if they do, they will get short shift from me, because I hate wireless. It's slow, it drops out, it doesn't reach where you want it to reach in the house. I'm Ethernet all the way, cables everywhere. Gambo says it's cool, but not as cool as my blue one. I'm assuming he's referring to this phone here. Yeah, the blue one, the bright blue ones are nice. The bright blue ones are the rarest colour of these as well, apparently. The very, very bright blue ones. Christopher says, my VoIP NBN phone line does do pulse dial in Australia, but all my phones go through a PBX to NBN phone line anyway. So Christopher's in Australia does do pulse dialing. I'm interested to know, Wesley, how you know for certain it doesn't support pulse dialing in the UK. Have you actually tried one? Because I think until somebody actually tries whatever equipment it is that the GPO or BT, whatever you want to call them these days, are going to send out, I wouldn't trust them saying, no, we don't support pulse dialing, to be gospel truth. Because, like I say, I've had people with ATAs, I've had ATA manufacturers say, our box does not support pulse dialing, when it does. So it could well be the case that whoever's making the boxes or whatever you're going to have from BT, whatever factory in China it is, BT says, yeah, make us these boxes, they only support DTMF, and the guy in China says, yeah, okay, here's your 100,000 boxes on your first shipment, yeah, they support DTMF, that's fine, but actually it's a standard Chinese product and it does support pulse dialing as well, and they've just not told anybody at BT. So I would think that is at least a possibility, so I think it's a case of wait and see. Wesley says, it has Ethernet, obviously, the box. I was assuming the voice side was pre-configured. If you have a SIP login, we may be okay. You don't have the voice side though, do you? You forget about the voice side of whatever box it is. If they give you a box that you plug your Ethernet devices into, like your computer and whatnot, and it's also got a phone socket to plug your phone into, forget about plugging the phone in. Plug an ATA into the Ethernet side, and then plug your phone into the ATA. That's what I'm saying. So that's the way I'd do it. So I would totally disregard BT's phone side of whatever box it is that they give you, which is what I'm doing with PlusNet, because they've said, would you like us to enable the phone for you? And I'm assuming they just do something remotely, electronically, with the actual router type thing that they've sent me. And I said, no, don't want it. No, because I'm going to use my own ATA. If I use an actual telephone, more likely at the radio studio though, we won't use an actual telephone. A phone line will come straight into and straight out of a computer. And obviously a computer's got to work, hasn't it? So that's what we'll do. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Whatever happens, whatever they do, I'm fairly confident there will be some kind of hack to get round it. You see, Christopher says the Origin told him that NBN phone lines do not support pulse dialing. This is my point exactly. So Christopher was told, bear in mind Christopher's in Australia for those who don't know, Christopher was told that his box that sits on his windowsill would not support pulse dialing. They categorically said it does not support pulse dialing. But when Chris plugged a pulse dialing phone into it, he found it does support pulse dialing. And like I say, that is not the first instance of that happening. So I think wait and see. Wesley says, if you get a SIP login, it'll be okay. You will be able to use a third-party ATA. Well, you get a SIP login from a third party, from a SIP provider. You wouldn't have your BT phone line anymore, or your BT number. You would switch it to somebody like SIPgate or someone like that. And last time I looked with people like SIPgate, you could transfer your original BT number to them, a bit like you can transfer a mobile phone number. So I don't know. Until it happens to me, I can't say for certain how it's going to work. But I will resist as long as I possibly can. Gambo says, BT did away with my copper line, much to my anger. But after many a rant down the phone, my phone supports pulse dialing now through a new phone line. So you see, Gambo bears it out again, that his phone line now does support pulse dialing. And as far as I know, it's not yet been rescinded that any new equipment that BT put in has to be backwards compatible with the phone network. Wesley says, I've become attached to my BT number since I was a nipper. Yeah, well, I think you'd be able to transfer it to somebody like SIPgate, Wesley. Like I say, I think you'd be able to go to a SIP provider, and they would be able to give you your number on their system. I think. We could certainly give you your number on CNET, almost certainly. We will be able to give you your old number on CNET, and we'd be able to give it you in the old format before it all changed and started putting extra digits in it as well. So there. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with it, with this fibre to the premises business. Somebody was talking to me about it today, actually, while I was out and about at Cromford with a stationary engine. Somebody was talking about exactly this, and I said exactly what I just said to you guys about it going off and that, and said, but your internet will be a lot faster. And I said, well, what do you actually need much faster internet for? And nobody can quite answer the question, because when you get to about, certainly when you get to about 50 meg of internet, you start to think, well, do I really need any more than that? You know, I mean, if you're running something like a hotel off one broadband connection, and everybody's got a computer in their room and they're all trying to download a movie all at the same time, then yeah. But for a normal house with you know, a couple of people and a couple of kids living in it, how much bandwidth do you actually need in reality? What really annoys me about bandwidth is they say, oh, it's such a so-and-so meg, you know, 50 meg or whatever, but that's download, and like what I'm doing now, I want upload speed, not download speed. I would like it to be balanced, but it's not. You get a lot less upload than you do download. Christopher says he called Organ back and told them they do support pulse dialing. So when someone else rings, ask them if they can give the proper information. Yeah, well done, Christopher, yeah. But they won't give the proper information because their call centre in India will just read whatever's on their screen. I assume they have a call centre in India like everybody else does at the moment. This is one thing that I do like about PlusNet broadband, by the way. Their call centre is just down the road here in Sheffield, not in Mumbai. It's something I don't like about Asda. But that's another story. Asda supermarkets. Don't even go there this week with Asda supermarkets. Yes, I could have a major rant about Asda this week. Where it says uploads will always be slower when using the copper network. Why? Why? Because it's going through the copper cable, but it's also coming the other way through the copper cable. If it can come at a fast speed that way through the copper, why can't it go at the same speed that way through the copper? No idea. I've got no idea. Dominic says, or East Midlands trains. I can't have a rant about East Midlands trains this week because I've not been on them for ages and ages and ages. I've only been on one set of trains since pre-COVID, and that was much against my better judgment, and that was when I went to fetch the electric car from Rill, and I went on some trains then. But other than that, I don't travel by train, I don't travel by public transport at all. No, dirty, horrible, infested public transport, oh no. Ugh. No. No, you can climb up as many blooming pylons on the M25 as you like. I'm driving my car. So, Dominic says, I bought an advance ticket to collect at the station, only to find both ticket machines out of order. Was on an Indian call station for 30 minutes, I think he means call centre, for 30 minutes only to give up and buy another ticket on the train. I wouldn't have bought a ticket, Dominic. I would have got on the train without the ticket, and then I would have explained the situation to the conductor on the train. Yeah, I would have certainly got on without the tickets and explained the situation. And I think you'd have been totally within your rights to do that. If you cannot physically get the ticket that you have ordered, it's their problem, isn't it? But what I will say is, if you're only on to the Indian call centre for 30 minutes, that was quick. Because I was on for 2 hours to Asda the other day, and they cut me off twice, and I had to ring them back. And then when my shopping did turn up, I got my own shopping and also half of somebody else's. So I did get some free sausages and some free, come on, what do you call them? Hash browns. Hash browns. I got some free sausages and some free hash browns from Asda, because the van that apparently was supposed to bring my shopping on Thursday broke down, and it had got 2 orders in the back of this van, and then they got the orders mixed up, and they put the orders in another van the following day to bring them out to me, and they managed to shuffle it all up again. So they went to the other people, and the other people weren't in, so they didn't know what should be in theirs and what shouldn't be in theirs. And then the very flustered driver came to me, because he'd been sent out just with 2 orders as an extra run, and he wanted to go home, and he said, "Oh, just take the bloody stuff, just take it." So that's what I did. Wesley says, "I'm with Andy on this one. I kick off big time if they ask me to pay again." Yeah, I kick off big time when they ask me to pay once on the railways, I tell you. I went, what was the thing? What exactly happened? Oh, yes. I'm sure I've told this story before. If you've heard this before, stop me. I was going to London a few years ago. This was in the days of Midland Main Line, before it became East Midlands Trains. And I was going to London, and I wanted to go to London from Chesterfield Station to St Pancras. It's one train, no changes, one train, straight down, Midland Main Line. And I went in Chesterfield Station to the ticket office thing, and I said, and this was in advance of me going, this wasn't on the day, this was like maybe a week in advance. And I said to him, "I want to go to London on the train." Oh, I was going to meet a friend of mine who's flying in from America to Heathrow. That's what it was. So I was going to go into central London, and then I was going to get like the tube shuttle thing to Heathrow. So anyway, Heathrow, no, it's not a tube line, is it technically? Heathrow Express to Heathrow. But anyway, this relates to me going from home to St Pancras. So I went in about a week before I was due to go to Chesterfield Station to buy this ticket, and I said, right, I want a ticket from here to London, and then I want 2 tickets back, because my friend's coming back with me. He said, "So you want a return and a single?" And I said, "Yeah, I suppose." It said, "Right, your single, no, your return ticket," he said, "we've had some on special offer return tickets for £10. He said, "but we've not got any left." And I said, right, okay, how much is it? Normal price. And at that time he said something like £80 or £90, somewhere in that region. And I said, that's an awful lot of money considering National Express is about £19 both ways. And he said, yes, but your return's free. I said, what do you mean my return's free? You've just told me that a return ticket is £90. He says, yeah, but a single's £90 as well. So I said, are you telling me that I've got to go down to London and back, and that's £90, and for my friend just to come from London up here, that's also £90? And he said, yes. Right, okay. He says, but we've had these tickets on sale, these special, and he called them something, for £10, he said, but there's no seats left on that train. He says, we've only got seats left for the reduced fare in first class, and that's a bit more expensive. So I said, well, how much is it in first class? He said, oh, it's more expensive than standard class, which you think is logical, don't you? So I said, well, have a look. And he got typing on his thing, because me thinking, if it's £90 in cattle class and it's £100 in first class, I will pay the extra tenner. And he said to me, in first class it's £20, sir. So I looked at him and went, how do you work that out? And he says, oh, well, we've got some of these special reduced fare tickets for first class. So I said, right, you're telling me now that if I want to book a ticket from here to London and back in standard class, it's £90, but if I want to book a ticket from here to London and back in first class, it's only £20. And he said, yes, if it's a return. I said, okay. He says, right, that will be £110 then. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, you're having a return, aren't you? From here to London and back, and you're having the special reduced fare ticket, that's £20. And your friend's only having a single to go from St Pancras to Chesterfield, and that's £90. But that's in standard class. I'm sorry, sir, he said, actually, it's that one's £100, so you've got to pay 120 in total. I said, so I'm going there and back and it's £20, and my friend's only coming one way and it's £100. Yes, sir. I said, don't be so stupid. Give me 2 returns. And then he sat there and he, honest to God, said to me, but your friend doesn't need a return, they're only going from St Pancras to here. I gave up. I walked out the station. I went to the Tourist Information Centre and I booked 2 tickets on National Express. I just totally gave up. But that is the calibre of people that Midland Main Line in their stations are employing. So yeah, good luck with the railways. Right. What's everybody saying in the chat after that? Sorry, that was the rant to end all rants, wasn't it? But it's a good few years ago now, that, but I will never ever forget it, because it was like a Monty Python sketch. I was looking for the TV cameras. I thought somebody was winding me up. Where it says, did you get an email confirmation about your ticket, Dominic? And Dominic says, yes, I got email from them with the code, but the ticket machine wouldn't take any codes, unfortunately. I got a refund in the end, but they kept £10 of it for an admin fee. Oh, Dominic, why did you let them get away with that? I just got on the train without the ticket and said, look, here's my reservation, you get it out of the ticket machine, pal. Yeah, no, don't apologise for the rant, Dominic. I think your rant was more than justified there. Doesn't make me feel so bad for getting on a train at Matlock once and going to the toilet, because the trains from Matlock only go as far as Derby, and by the time you've been to the toilet, the ticket collector's been up the train, been back down the train, and you've not paid. So if you get on a train at Matlock, go to the toilet. That's what I'll say to you. Actually, Dominic could do that because he lives near there. Wesley says, I apologise for saying that sucks. That's not my usual vocabulary. That wouldn't have been my vocabulary if I'd been asked to pay twice on the train either. I would not have said, excuse me, but I think that sucks. That would not be what I would have said. Dominic says, didn't Midland Main Line used to give you a free tea or coffee sometimes? Oh, wait for it. Wait for it. It gets better. Yes, they did. Used to in first class they did, at least. I don't know about in standard class. But after I had this debacle with them about the train to London, I feel it wasn't much later, some weeks later, I had another course to go to London for a day, just me. And I remembered what had happened the previous time, and I remembered it was only £20 to have one of these fancy tickets for first class. One of these tickets that's not advertised, by the way. That's why they don't sell them, because they advertised the standard class ones, didn't advertise the first class ones. And at the time, there were trains on that route, and I guess they're probably still on there, what were originally operated by Virgin, these trains, and then or they were a Midland Main Line version of a train that had come into service with Virgin initially, called a Virgin Voyager, which is a kind of diesel multiple unit thing. And we always knew them as Virgin Vomiters. When the Midland Main Line got the exact same train, pretty much, and so they were still known as Virgin Vomiters, even though they weren't owned by Virgin, these ones, or operated by Virgin even. But I had course to go to London, so I booked one of these first class £20 return tickets, and went down to London, no problem. Coming back from London, we were on one of these units, and first class is just like maybe a quarter or 1/3 of one coach, of the back coach of this thing that's either a 3 or 4 car set. And I am sat in this first class compartment at St Pancras Station in London, and there's one other person sat in this thing with me. Young lady, very, very well dressed, you know, hair, makeup, the lot, you know, looked like she were going to a wedding or something. And we're sat in this like little bit of this train, and then there's glass panels and a glass door, and then there's cattle class in the rest of the train. And we set off out of London, and as we were going out of London, it was getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And we're sat there on our own, and I was pitying the people in the cattle class, because cattle class was filling up, and it soon became a crush load in cattle class. Just 2 of us sat in first class, but it was swelteringly hot. It must have been 40 degrees on this train. And the ticket collector came along, and he opened the doors, these glass doors, these partition doors, came in, said, "Tickets please." We showed him our tickets, and he said, "It's hot in here, isn't it?" And we said, "Well, yeah, that's just what I was thinking." And this girl said the same. He said, "Let me see if I can do something about it." So he went into the back cab of this unit, rummaged around in the back cab of this unit, flicked a few switches and things, and said, "Oh, there's something wrong with the air conditioning." Now, there's no opening windows on these trains. "Something wrong with the air conditioning," he said. "I'll see if I can get you a complimentary drink." So we went, "Okay, fair enough." He disappears back into cattle class, back into the crush. There's people with their noses pressed up against the glass like this. It's that full. And we're sat there, but it's baking hot. Nobody would have wanted to come in. Well, we're sat there, and by this stage, this girl decided to strike up a conversation, and she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Chesterfield." She said, "Oh, right." Said, "I'm going through to Sheffield." She said, have you been to London for business or pleasure?" And I said, "Well, kind of a bit of both." I said, I'd actually been to Elstree Studios for something, and I said, "Yeah, I've been to Elstree Studios, and then I went back into London to come back out again to catch this train." I said, because it's a cheap ticket." She said, "Oh yes," she said, "I've got one of those cheap tickets, £20 return." Yeah, I said, yeah. I said, "Yeah, they don't advertise them, do they?" I said, no, they don't advertise these tickets." And she says, "Yeah, it's brilliant." She says, I have them all the time." She says, "I'm a buyer for," I think she said, BHS, the shop BHS in Sheffield. I'm one of the buyers." She says, I'm based in Sheffield, I live in Sheffield," says, "but I've been to London and I have to go quite regularly to our head office." She says, "These tickets are brilliant." So as we're chatting, the door opens, train conductor comes back in. He says, "We're out of soft drinks, sir. Will this do? And producers, I kid you not, the magnum of champagne and 2 glasses." So he says, "Would you like me to open it for you, sir?" I went, "Yes, please." And we're sat there, absolutely good. Trust me, you'll never get an experience like this on a train ever again. And we're sat there and gobsmacked. The train conductor is opening the magnum of champagne, pop, just like it does when they'd open it on the Formula 1, bloody bubbles everywhere. He gets these 2 champagne flutes, fills them up, gives one to this woman, one to me. And the next words out of his mouth were, "The air conditioning is working in standard class, sir. Would you like to sit in there?" So I looked at my flute of champagne, I looked at this very pretty blonde girl sat opposite me. I looked at all the people with their noses pressed to the glass just over there, and I said to him, actually, in my position, would you? And he just said, probably not, sir, and walked off. And we stuck it out all the way back in 40-degree heat, cooling ourselves down with champagne and the back of a virgin vomiter, all the way from St Pancras back to, well, Chesterfield in my case, but Sheffield in her case. I'd love to know who that was. If anybody knows who that girl was, I would love to know. Because it's years ago and I've dined out on that story quite a lot. But that is the one time that the incompetence of the railways worked in my favour. So I thought I'd better throw that one in, just to prove they're not always terrible. Well, that was terrible, but it was terrible in a good way. Dominic says, when I was in Birmingham, sometimes it would work out cheaper in first class, for some reason, to get a return to London. When I was in Birmingham, sometimes it would work out cheaper, first class, for some reason, to get a return to London. Where were you actually going, though, Dominic? Not London, I take it. It does. It's very strange how fares work on trains. Michael T says, yeah, we'll pay it. Travelling by rail is lovely. Have you ever been on a Virgin Vomiter, Michael? They're really not lovely. They're really not. What gets me about them is we can put a man on the moon. We can broadcast like this to anywhere on the planet through the internet. We can have vaccines and we can cure lots of diseases and stuff, and we can have self-driving cars, but the one thing we can't do is build a train where the seats line up with the windows. Anybody who's been on a Virgin Vomiter will know exactly what I'm talking about there, or on most other kinds of rolling stock. Christopher says, I got first class on V line and the last old 80s set train to Geelong before track works, because I have friends in V line. Friends in high places, eh, Christopher? Friends in high places, mate. Dominic said the vomiters are miles better than the Hitachi IETs, though. Depends which Hitachi IETs you're on about. The ones in Kent are nice. The ones on Southeastern are nice, because another friend of mine lives in oh come on, what's the place called in Kent? Herne Bay. And I was going down to see them once. And again I went to St Pancras, and then you change at St Pancras and normally get on some southern region unit that goes rattling off to Herne Bay. But this particular day I went to get on my rattly southern region unit, and there was this very sleek, dark, bluey, purpley coloured train, totally empty, sat in the platform, and lots of people in sort of southeastern uniforms standing at the side of this train. And one of them approached me and said, can I help you, sir? And I said, yeah, I'm going to Herne Bay. And he said, would you like to try our preview service? And I said, does it go to Herne Bay? Because no, it goes to such a I think, yeah, where did they say it went to? I think it did go to Herne Bay in the end. Yes, it did go to Herne Bay, I think, in the end. But it went part of the way, not on the normal rattly southeastern track, but on High Speed 1, Channel Tunnel track. And the idea was they got these brand new Hitachi trains, and they were the first ones in the country, because they couldn't use High Speed 1 with their normal stock because it held up the Eurostars and things, because it was too slow. So they got these trains and they were trying them out. Basically, they said it's only the same price as going on your normal train, sir. And we're just running this as a preview service, just to see how it goes. So I went, yeah, all right, I'll try it. I got on this train, and the first thing you notice about it, it's all open inside. There's no bulkheads in it. You know, you don't open a door to go from one carriage to the next carriage. There's no bulkheads. It was just a straight through thing inside. And very few people on it, maybe half a dozen people at the very most. It's something like a 10, 12 coach train, something like that. And I sat down, and I was glad I had sat down, because this thing set off out of St Pancras Station. And it was like being fired out of a gun out of St Pancras Station. You know, and if ever you've seen a magnetically launched roller coaster that doesn't have a lift hill, it's done like maglev in the track. There's magnets in the track that repel magnets on the train, and they just press a button and the thing goes on the level. That's what this train was like going out of St Pancras Station. It absolutely flew. If you'd have been stood up, you'd have fallen over. It pushed you into your seat. You're pulling G's, and it was like that all the way to Ashford in Kent. And at Ashford, it comes off of High Speed 1. And in Ashford, the reverse happened. Instead of you doing that in your seat, you all of a sudden were headbutting the seat in front as the thing braked. And then there was an almighty jolt as it went over a point. And then it was clickety-clack, 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 all the way to Herne Bay. But the difference was phenomenal. But those ones were alright until they got on the rubbishy track. But when they were on the nice track, those ones, they were nice trains. But I understand the other ones that LNER have now gotten that somewhere somebody in Britain got involved in tweaking the design and messed it up. So that's why they're a bit crappy. Right, I'm just reading again. Dominic says the best ballasted track I've ever seen on HS1. Yeah, it's pretty good, that I suppose it has to be, because the French would complain if it wasn't, wouldn't they? Christopher says he got first class for free for friends in V-Line. Crikey, some people have all the luck, don't they? Did you get any champagne though, Christopher? That's the question. Did you get any champagne with it? Right, okay. I think that's probably about as far as we go for today, folks. Now I've told you all the railway-related stories that I can think of. We've got a little bit off piece tonight. I hope you don't mind too much. But it is what is it? About 8:25 here in the UK. But we've done a bit of work on this phone. We've got this phone going, haven't we? So yeah, we've done a bit of telephone stuff. Like I say, nothing new really in the phone department has arrived this week, because we've been concentrating on doing other stuff. I mentioned the radio station earlier. Dominic, who is somewhere there in the chat at the minute, is due for a visit pretty soon. And he is basically, although he doesn't know this yet, we'll know it now when I say it, he's going to be sort of debugging the radio station. Basically, we're going to sit him down in it and basically see if he can break it. Because it needs a different pair of eyes on it to see if they can make it work and stuff. And hopefully he won't be able to break it. So that's all going to be happening soon. For those of you who've been asking, who've been sending me emails and that saying when is the radio station going on air, we are hoping either towards the end of January or possibly beginning of February. It all depends on once we've got the internet in. There's certain things we can't do now until the internet is installed. Like we can't ingest any more music into the system, because when we ingest a CD, it has to record various metadata for like what the record company is, what year the thing was released and that comes from a website. And until we've got an internet connection in the studio, we can't ingest any more music into the system, because it has to connect to the internet that then like reads the audio on the CD and then automatically fills out all these forms and stuff. And you need all these forms and things for PRS and PPL, which is the licensing authorities that let you play the music. So there'll be a lot of music to ingest into the system once it's actually all online, and then we will be doing some test transmissions just to see how it holds up and all that kind of stuff, and then lots of studio tidying, because there's wires everywhere at the moment and they've all got to be sort of tidied away neatly and be made a bit more presentable and things. So we're thinking there's probably a month to 2 months more work before we're actually ready to press the go button on it, but that's quite close. So we are looking for people. Michael T's volunteered himself brilliantly a little bit earlier. If anybody else fancies being a DJ stroke presenter, then let me know. Get in touch. You can get in touch with us by email. If you know the email, send me an email. If you don't know the email, then get in touch with us initially through the website, which is here. It's andyshed.coldpress.net. You'll find a contact us form on there. Initially contact me through that and I will email you back. The reason is I don't give out my email on these streams, because if I do, the spam bots spot it and I get loads and loads and loads of spam, and the only kind of spam that I like is the sort that you can fry and then eat on a sandwich. Yeah, but if you want to get in touch with us, like I say, that is the thing, andyshed.coldpress.net. Remember, we've got the telephone forum as well. If you want to talk all things telephones, that's here, gpotelephones.proboards.com. And if you want to support this show and also what we do at the radio station, then you can become a patron. And a lot of you are already, I know, but for those that maybe aren't and would consider doing it, it's basically the equivalent of about £1 a month, although it may be in your local currency wherever you are in the world. But you go here, www.patreon.com/AndyShed to do that. And if you support us on Patreon, you sometimes get a bit of extra content as well in the form of blog posts and things that pop up during the week. Okay, that is really about it as far as we go for today. Thanks to everybody for taking part in this brilliant chat that we've had on here tonight. Gambo says, I'll catch you next time. Hopefully I'll have my BT Ultimate 106 up and running. So see you all next week. Yeah, good luck with it, Gambo. I'm sure you'll manage it. Michael T says it was a good show tonight. I enjoyed it. Good, Michael. That's what we like to hear. We like it when the people that are watching it enjoy it. I think that's how it's supposed to be, isn't it? Chris says it's 7:25 a.m. in Australia now. Crikey, it must be time for breakfast, Christopher. And talking of time for food, it must be getting on time for my supper. Right, that really is about it. Thanks to everybody for taking part once again. We will see you back here, same time, same place next week, around about 6:30. I might even be on time for once. But from me, for now, have a fantastic week ahead. Remember, more episodes of How to Build a Radio Station coming very, very soon. But from me, for now, see you soon. Bye, y'all.